I talked to Lord Berkeley, who conducted a review for the government into effectively the efficacy of the high-speed rail link, and he joins us now. Lord Berkeley, you said some years ago, because I remember writing about your review, the costs were spiralling out of control, and I think back, what was it, 2019, 2020? You were pretty pessimistic about the outcome. And now presumably your view is even more pessimistic.
Well, sadly, that's the case. It has spiralled out of control. It's probably about 180 billion now. But my real worry is, and I go back to what Graham Stringer said just in your previous interview and Emily's comment. Graham knows Manchester well, he knows transport very well, and he made the statement that we need to improve our infrastructure. Now, my argument is that the worst infrastructure in the country is probably between Liverpool, Manchester and Leeds, and also Birmingham to Nottingham and places like that. And the government, or John Armitt in the National Infrastructure Commission report, suggested that needed 50 billion to sort that out and get a network in these areas which is as good as you get around London, electrified, reliable and everything else. And the problem now is that the government has stopped all expenditure on those small schemes because it's all being bled into HS2. And that's why I believe that if they can't find more money, well, maybe they can, maybe they can't, but if they can't find more money, they ought to cut bits of HS2 and put the money into local and regional services where many more people will actually want to use them.
Did I hear you correctly as well, Lord Berkeley? You said the cost could rise as high as £180 billion?
Yes, indeed. I mean, that's work that Michael Bing and I have been doing for the last few years.
That's staggering.
Which we feed to the government. It's staggering, but inflation and the disorganisation of the whole project does mean that it's shooting through the roof. Now, we've got solutions to this. The first thing is to save 12 billion, and I mean 12 billion, by cutting out Old Common to Euston and terminating the trains at Old Oak Common. That would pay for a new line between Manchester, Leeds, via Bradford. And I think that's the kind of investment that needs to be made in the North and the Midlands, east-west. And if the government can't afford both projects, the regional project, as I call them, and HS2, then it needs to look at HS2. And I think that's what they're doing at the moment, actually.
Now, there are lots of claims, nice to speak to you, there's lots of claims going around that the executives of the project have been perhaps indulging a little bit too much when it comes to contracts and being paid so much themselves, but also behaving like kids with the golden credit card. Has this become a bit of a golden goose, a bit of a gravy train? Lots of people have lots of vested interests to keep this going.
Well, I'm sure the construction industry is very, very keen to keep it going, and some of the people who work for it. But it is also supported by those who think that they would like to get to London a bit more quickly. I call it a vanity project. But Emily, you made the point at the end of that interview that they should have started in the north. I said that to Andrew Adonis about 15 years ago when he was starting it. And his answer was, well, the business case in the north is no good. Well, that says it all, because the business case in the north should be good if they invested in the railways and they had better facilities, better jobs, easier access to schools and shopping and everything else. We should still have started in the north, but now we haven't. Then I think the most important bit is to improve the east-west, as I've said, and also all the connections from the very large towns around the place in the north and in the Midlands, so people can use the train for more job opportunities, go to school, college, and leave their cars at home too.
Fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating.
Yeah. Seems to me it's become the most wasteful of creations.
And Lord Berkeley, if those figures of 180 billion are true, that's a big problem, because the government are currently saying 100 billion.
Yeah, and 100 billion is still three times what it was supposed to be.
Absolutely right. But the government will say, if you challenge them, they say, well, we don't recognise my figures. But they refuse to sit down and talk about them. They'd rather just sit with their own story and hope it goes away.
All right, Lord Berkeley, we've run out of time, I'm afraid.
By these figures.
All right, Lord Berkeley, always good to talk to you. He's the former chairman of the Rail Freight Group with that eye-watering estimate that actually it's not going to cost 100 billion. It's supposed to cost 32 billion. It will cost 180 billion.
Yeah, I haven't seen that 180 billion figure, so that's an exclusive, I believe, for you.